Gavin. Thanks for joining us today on the Financial Planner Life podcast. Talk Club is our chosen charity of choice here at the Financial Planner Life, with 5% of turnover being donated to this amazing men's mental fitness charity. We've also set up the Financial Planner Life Talk Club, which is a safe space for men within the financial planning profession, all their friends, family, clients, to come on in and work on their mental fitness. And today we're going to learn more about the amazing work that Talk Club are actually doing for men across the UK. It's relatively a new charity, but you've made massive strides in getting your name out there and making a difference to men across the UK and also across the globe.
Yeah.
So Gavin, perhaps today you can just start off by telling us what Talk Club actually is.
Well, it's a mental fitness movement for men is what it is the core of it. We talk about mental fitness rather than mental health. But it has grown since we started. I should go back to the beginning, really. Ben Akers, one of the co-founders, he made an amazing documentary called Steve. Unfortunately, his childhood best friend took his life. And from that, Ben, in dealing with his grief, he worked in advertising and he's around, obviously, films and making films. And he decided, actually, I'm going to make a documentary about suicide. Because he was quite staggered by the stats that he was hearing about suicide. Like all of us, we don't really know much about it. It's almost like it's happening over here. No one really talks about it, but we know it's there, but we don't really look at it and we keep it over there. And obviously when you do start to look at it and realise that 76% of suicides are male and it's happening every 80 minutes in this country, it makes you realise, wow, there is a problem here. No one's really doing much about it, it seems. So there obviously are lots of talking groups out there and walking groups. And so Ben made this amazing documentary. I met Ben because I did the music for the film. And we got chatting after that. There's 6 co-founders. There's 6 of us that founded Talk Club, and all of us play a part in that. And then my involvement with that was the music. And then after that, Ben sort of said that it feels like he needs to leave a legacy after this film. What should we do next, sort of thing? And that's when we said, well, why don't we set up a talking group and see what happens? And it was going to be just let's set up a talking group in Bristol and get a couple of blokes, maybe in a pub, maybe a back of a pub, and have a chat. And let's call it Talk Club. You know, it's sort of it was one of the co-founders, Neil, came up with the name, and so Talk Club started like that. And then when I got involved, I was training to be a counsellor at the time myself, so I was very interested in getting involved. I sort of said to the guys, well, why don't we start it on Facebook? Because there's loads of great Facebook groups out there. I was part of a counselling Facebook group that had 30,000 members. And what I liked about this group was everyone supporting each other, helping each other. Someone put a question out there and all these people rally around and support. And I thought, that's a good idea. Maybe that'll work for men and mental health. So we started this Talk Club main group on Facebook, and very quickly we had about 1,500 men. It felt like within a couple of weeks to a month, we had 1,500 men in this group, all sharing, and it was overwhelming. We were like, wow, there's so many men out there struggling and really need help. And it was from that we thought, we need to do more, actually. We need to set up proper talk groups. So sort of fast forward 3.5 years, we've been a charity now, official charity, for 18 months. So from where it started there to sort of an idea to where we are now, to sort of jump forward, we've got talking groups. The good thing about the talking groups is they're very bounded and safe. It's 4 rounds. We start with how are you out of 10, and then we go into the next round is what are you grateful for? What are the positives in your life at the moment? And then round 3 is what you're doing this week for your mental fitness, some you time. And then round 4 is your checkout number. So it's really simple, really straightforward. But it is very much a moving forward group. It's very much about what are you doing for you to help you and move forward. But the great thing about Talk Club is you've got the check-in numbers and check-out numbers, so you can see, you know, how you when you leave, actually how do you feel? You can measure it. And from that, we obviously lockdown came along in all of this as well, and we had to adapt. as a charity, and so when we could, we set up Talk and Run, and because I think 6 of you could meet in the park, and so we did that. And then we set up Talk and Run, and we quickly realised that the same format worked. Stand in a circle while you're stretching, checking me your number. Everyone would check in, we'd run in pairs, and while we were running, we'd have I know you mentioned the chat that you're struggling at work. Do you want to tell me a bit more about that? And we would sort of talk while we're running, try to breathe and talk. And then when we come back after doing, say, 5K, we'd check out with our numbers at the end. Very simple. So we're like, oh, this Talk and Run, Talk and Move, this works well. So that is now still part of the charity. We've got talking groups, Talk and Move groups. And then what's evolved now is, because we're very much, I like to think, an action charity. We're very much forward thinking. We're always thinking, what can we do next? We're never sort of going, that works great, let's fold our arms and it's all fancy. We're always thinking, what can we do to help more men? Our mission statement is where men are, we are. And that's what it's about. Where can we get to all men and help everybody? And so we set up the Move groups, and now we've set up Talk Club therapy groups. So that's the next thing for us, is we found that men were coming into the group, and some men were coming in, their numbers were very low. And obviously we'd always signpost them and say, we go to your GP, and Samaritans I can see across the road. We'd signpost all these great charities that can support you if you are struggling. Okay. But we quickly realised that actually how about we support men ourselves, and we set up something where we can support them from their mental fitness journey. So when they come in, it's almost like once you're in Talk Club, you're in Talk Club for life. You come in, you go to talking groups, or you can go to a run group, and then you're like, actually my numbers are low, okay, come to the therapy group. Once you've done the therapy group, you can go back to the Talk Club. So you can almost keep going between the 3 groups as much as you want. So the therapy group is sort of icing on the cake, really, regarding the charity, and having, I would say, from sort of top to bottom of services. We feel like now that you can come to Talk Club and we can fully support men now. It's run by fully qualified therapists. It's 8 weeks, and we only charge £6.25 a session. So we ask everyone to. It's like a donation, a £50 donation just to the charity. It costs us, the charity, £150 a head for each person to go through the 8 weeks of therapy. And that's the great thing now, is we're asking businesses, if you want to donate 450 quid, for example, you're putting 3 men through 8 weeks of therapy. You're potentially saving 3 men's lives. So that's the next sort of thing we're doing. But obviously, on top of that, there's been loads of partnerships as well in between all that.
Brilliant stuff. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that overview, and such a powerful movement. The statistics don't lie, do they? I think it's one of the biggest killers of men under the age of 50.
Under 50, yeah.
I didn't realise that somebody takes their life. Is that a male takes their life every 80 minutes?
Yeah.
In the UK or the world?
Yeah, in the UK. In the world, it's every 40 seconds.
What, a male takes their own life?
Someone takes their life every 40 seconds in the world. The other stat I heard recently is in a year, worldwide, 16 million people will attempt to take their life. 16 million people worldwide.
And you lost a friend, didn't you?
I lost a friend last May, a friend of mine called Rob. Yeah, he took his life. So for me, that's definitely a driving force. I mean, to be honest, it was one of the main reasons why I got into Talk Club in the first place. Was a friend of mine's brother took his life. He's called Miles. And that I think we'd been going about a month when that happened. And that was and I was obviously really sad and angry, because I was just like, oh, men, why are men doing this? What is going on? And so that's when I thought, right, I will need to sort of do something, a bit like Ben with his friend. Like, I need to do something with this anger and pain and this energy I've got. I want to do something about this. And that's when I really directed it into Talk Club. I was like, right, come on, let's get this going now, and let's really get this off the ground. And that focused me. And then obviously, and then losing another friend to suicide. Obviously, again, it was another. That was for me the impetus to go. We really need to get these therapy groups going, because then they are fully supported. So, out of all the loss, I don't want to say I've turned it into a positive, but I've done something with that. I've gone, and the same for Ben with his film. It's that we've all gone, there's a tragedy, okay, this is awful, but what can we do to help the next person? So the next Steve, the next Miles, the next Ben, we want to save the next person. And the great thing actually regarding Miles is every year now we do a charity campaign called Miles for Miles, and that's because of Miles. We set that up in his honour.
Absolutely, which we got behind.
Yes.
We did the Miles for Miles Mount Everest challenge.
Yes, yeah, amazing.
So we climbed the equivalent of up and down Mount Everest as a team here at Recruit UK.
Wow.
I mean, my journey with it all really and finding out about you guys was I was sat on the waterfront and I was having a beer. A non-alcoholic beer. 3.5 years ago, I decided to give up drinking because it was destroying my mental health.
Sure.
And by giving up alcohol, it allowed me the ability to look at myself, hold the mirror up and make some changes. And I realised that alcohol really was a symptom of my thinking. It was my thinking that was damaged. It was taking me to the pits of utter depression, stress, anxiety. And I had continuous suicidal thoughts. And it was very, very difficult for me to hide that and to suppress that. One thing I learned, because I ended up going through like a 12-step process. So Talk Club, I wasn't even around at the time, but I ended up going through a 12-step process. And I know that power of opening up and talking about how you feel is hugely powerful. Having that ability to say it out loud, like I'm not very well. And one thing I learned, like with the 12-step process, so people always think, oh, Alcoholics Anonymous, all these guys sat around in Rain Max, talking about the days of drinking and all of that. And one thing I realised straight away, it wasn't. It was everybody was talking about what was going on in their heads. The alcohol or drinking or drugs or whatever it was a symptom of their thinking. And when I was able to look at that and then work a program around it that allowed me to tackle those thoughts in my head and to share it and to listen to other people at the same time, massive transformational change happened. Why do you think talking and listening is so powerful for men? Why do you think it makes such massive changes? Because it 100% does, because I've gone through a process of a talking and listening program. Why do you think it has made those changes?
Well, a couple of things. It's interesting because we get asked all the time, when are we going to set up Talk Club for females? and firstly, I was like, well, the suicide rates, 76% of suicides are male. So that stat alone is the reason why we have Talk Club. But also, I always say is women are already doing it. And I was sat with a friend the other day in a coffee shop and she asked me that question. And I said, turn around. And there was 6 women sat around a table on a Tuesday morning, having a coffee, having a chat. And I said, there you go. You would never see 6 men on a Tuesday morning sat around a table having that conversation over a coffee. It would never happen. And I said, that there lies the problem. They talk and they listen. And it's a really good, a lot of the time we listen to reply, like we're doing now. We don't listen to understand. And that's what Talk Club does. It's almost training you to listen. It's training you to listen to understand, not to reply, because there's no replying in Talk Club. We've taken that away on purpose. And not because we want to stop men from expressing themselves. Not at all. It's to go because actually listen, really listen to what that other man is saying and how they're feeling, and you're listening to understand them. And the other thing about that, it actually releases oxytocin in the body. So when we listen to someone intently and really feel that connection, I can feel it now with you, it releases oxytocin. So actually you're getting the love drug coming up because you feel that connection with a human being. So there's the sort of neurological side of it. And then obviously there's the psychological side of it is listening. It's that, Listen Club is not as good as Talk Club, but that is effectively what we're doing, is actually you're teaching men to listen more to each other, really listen to them and go, what's going on? And I think that's why the how are you out of 10 is so powerful. And it happened recently with a friend after lockdown. I met him in a pub. I said, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm all right, mate, I'm all right. Did the whole sort of, yeah, mate, woo, yeah. And then I said, can I ask you then, how are you out of 10? And he sort of stopped and looked to the sky, as everyone does, and paused and thought, should I tell the truth? and you can see that going around. And he said, actually, Gav, actually, I'm a 3. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, you're a 3? Okay, in my book, that's a low number. I'm generally an 8, and for me, everyone's numbers are different. And I said, well, tell me what's going on. Let's talk about it. And we had an amazing conversation in the pub, really in depth. Another friend was there. They started opening up and saying, actually, they're struggling too. And it was this amazing conversation. 3 men in a pub. I've never had that conversation in a pub with men, really talking about what's going on for them and owning it. Saying it out loud is the power, like you said with the AA. Actually saying it out loud is owning it, and then you own it, and it's real and it's happening. And then after, about a week later, I texted him and said, "Are you doing all right?" He went, "Do you know what? I went home that night. I told my wife I'm suffering with depression. I admitted it to her. I'm now going to a GP, and I'm going to go and get some counselling." And I just thought that came out of how you out of 10. I'm not saying he would have, but he could have. 2 or 3 weeks down the road, he could have taken his life. He could have got to that point and gone. He contained it, which is obviously what he'd been doing. Yeah. Contained it, and then went, I can't contain it anymore. Yeah. Okay, I'll just go. And that is real. I mean, and I'm not just saying that for effect. That's real. That's what I've seen. I've seen it happen to friends. They've just suddenly. Everyone says it all the time, don't they? Oh, I saw them yesterday. They were smiling. They were laughing, and now they're dead. Yeah, because they contain it, and then they explode internally. Not externally. We need men to continually be talking so they don't get to that point of feeling like they need to explode. That's why it's almost sort of letting a bit of pressure off. It's what it's all about. And I do believe the how are you out of 10 is powerful, not just to ask a friend, but yourself. Yeah. So when you wake up, you go, how am I out of 10? What is my number today? And if you're like, do you know what, my number's a 4 today, then we talked earlier about compassion, having compassion for the self and going, actually, my numbers are low today. I'm going to take it steady. Yeah. I'm going to take it steady today. And I do know that if I go for a nice walk and I have my favourite cheese sandwich, I might get to a 5. Then fine, you do that, But it's about that, isn't it? It's about, we've got to start to measure ourselves. We stand on the scales all the time and go, oh, bloody hell, I'm overweight. And we look at that. We don't measure our soul and our...
Especially as men.
Yeah, it don't. And so so the how are you out of 10, actually, it measures your well-being. Yeah. We've got a physical measurement. Well, how about our mental measurement?
It forces us to be honest with ourselves. Yeah. And it forces us to be honest with another man. And I think when you do share how you feel with somebody else, there's a deeper connection formed. Yeah. The listening point, you mentioned about oxytocin. Oxytocin is released when you listen, but it's also released when you talk and you're listened to. Yeah. So it's a self-fulfilling. Yeah. It goes around and around and around and around. Yeah. And the connection that you make when you listen to somebody else who's being honest and open about their struggles, it empowers you to also share and release it with you, because you're not alone anymore. Yeah. There's a deeper bond and deeper connection, and we as human beings need deeper bond and deeper connection. Yeah. Men don't have that connection group anymore, like they used to do in tribal days, tribal elders. We don't turn around to our elders as much as we used to, and we're turning around to social media where everyone's got great big fake fucking smiles on their faces, and we're expected to be driving around in a great car, great watch, with a fantastic looking girl or guy on our arm. Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's unrealistic. So the pressures upon ourselves are crazy. Yeah. And at some point we're going to go pop. Yeah. And we need to go somewhere when that pop happens or before that pop happens. Absolutely. What I like about your approach to this, and you said this isn't mental health, this is mental fitness. Yeah. Like we go to the gym and we build exceptionally beautiful bodies like I'm displaying right here.
I can't join you in that conversation.
You have to go every single day. Yeah. It's an ongoing process. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be the best runner, it's every day you work on it, or every other day you work on it. And I think with mental fitness, and something that I've fallen foul of in the past, is that I'll go counselling and it will solve my problems. Sure. And it doesn't. It might unearth and open up some deeper, darker things for me to look at. Yeah. But what I've learned over the last 3.5 years, so every single day when I implement daily practice, like checking in with myself, how am I? Yeah. Looking at gratitude, what am I grateful for today? Yeah. Looking at my inventory of things that might be affecting my mood. What am I scared of? What am I worried about? What am I pissed off about? Yeah. Why is it staying there? Do I owe somebody an apology? Absolutely. bringing that mirror around, taking a good hard look at yourself. And the daily practices is what we should be doing as men constantly to improve our mental well-being and our mental fitness. The compassion side you said there, and about building a deeper relationship with ourselves, is huge for me. One of the most powerful things I ever did was identify the voice in my head.
Okay.
I identified the voice in my head. I gave it a body. I gave it a form. I created a person, and it turned out to be this kind of Gollum-esque style young version of me, very scared, very broken, very negative. And I realised that voice, that thing that was telling me stuff, was following me around 24/7. So as soon as I identified with that, I changed the language. I changed what it looked like.
Absolutely.
I started talking to it in a compassionate and kind way.
Yeah.
I started meditating on it.
Yeah.
And now I turn to that and it talks kindly to me.
Absolutely.
So every day I'm getting that kindness and compassion coming back to me.
Great.
The more you think about kindness, the more you think about compassion, the more you're nicer, use positive language, higher level frequency language. It doesn't take long for your brain to identify with that, and you start to see things in a way more positive light.
Absolutely. Well, that's why we said about compassion, because it's. We said earlier, you hear people do it all the time, don't they? But like we were saying about, I haven't gone to the gym this week, or I haven't done it. It's just continuous sort of compounding of negativity, and I'm not good enough. But if we start with that compassion of, well, you've had a busy week, and almost like a really good friend, like you said, the voice, a really good friend would say to you, well, look, you had a tough week, so just sit and watch Netflix tonight and have a glass of wine and chill out.
Give yourself a break.
Have a break. It's okay, it's okay. If that's what you've got to do today, that's okay. And I think that's part of the language, isn't it? And like you said about making friends, not to run away from it. Actually, what you said is the best way, is to make friends with it, and it's because it's a part of you, and it's there. But yeah, it's with mental fitness as well. It can be whatever it wants to be. Because it's people always say, well, what is it? And I always say, well, the clue's in the title, mental. The first two letters are me. That's what it is. It's me. Yeah. Me time. Yeah. Think of it as me time. Don't get too drawn down into all the mental fitness stuff that's out there on Instagram. Just think about me time. What is your me time? And that could be having a cold shower. Could be doing yoga. Could be actually putting your phone down for an hour. Could be your me time. Yeah. Doesn't have to be a sport or an active thing. It's just where you go, breathe and stop and just be in yourself and be with yourself. I really miss, this might sound strange, but I really miss just staring out the window. And I thought that the other day, I was like, well, I used to be a singer-songwriter, and a lot of my time, I realised, was staring out windows because I would daydream. I'd stare out the window and I'd be thinking about lyrics and thinking about songs, and I'd be like, oh, right, yeah, so da. And I realised that I spent a lot of my time staring out the window. People looking in probably thought, God, what's wrong with him? But I miss that. I really miss that. And the other day I thought, I sort of just sit and be and drift off and stare and just it's not about the staring, it's just about just being in the moment and being in the moment. And I realised that actually I've stopped doing that as much, and it's something I want to do more, is just sort of put the phone down and just drift off a little bit more.
I get that with meditation, and I think we over-engineer meditation to be like, I've got to be sat there cross-legged with my candles on for an hour.
Yeah.
I have to not think of anything.
Yeah.
Whereas the whole point of meditation is to allow thoughts to come and go.
Absolutely.
And to recognise
the minute you say stop thinking, then
and when you start drifting off, you bring yourself back again.
Yeah.
But you listen to those thoughts and you see those thoughts. You see them come and go.
Yeah.
They move along like clouds, don't they?
Absolutely.
And that's 60,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
It's easy, and what we tend to do is identify with the ones that are horrible thoughts, because they're easy to identify. Fear, those typical types of things. So I agree with you. I can concur with you there. I will always take 5 minutes, 10 minutes meditation a day just to reset myself and just to say, what is going on inside? What's going on internally? What do I need to look at? And I write them down and I inventory it and I look at the part that I play in it. And can I change it? Can I bring it into the light? Can I do something about it? Because more often than not, you do that, it changes your thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you might share that with somebody else to get some perspective, so it's not just internally going over and over and over and over and over in my head.
Absolutely, and I think it's about connection. I think that's another thing that comes up. Compassion, connection, all these C words. I think that's an important part of it. I think we lose a bit of connection, especially as we get older.
Yeah.
I'm 43 now, and I know a lot of friends they've stopped playing sport because I'm too old, I can't do that anymore. So they've sort of left these sport clubs where there was a community and a connection with your peers, and we've lost that a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, another C word that is really strong in Talk Club is community. We've built a community of mentally fit men. That's what we're doing. When you come to Talk Club, you're part of our community now. You're connected. You're feeling part of a bigger, wider community.
Positive community is hugely important. One of the things that I struggled with was all my friendship group, for example, were all drinkers. So you can imagine, I've lost all my friendship group because I don't want to go drinking anymore, because I don't want to be in that environment. And through over those 3.5 years where I've found new communities of people like Tristan, who's a videographer over there. Me and Tristan go off walking and hiking, running. Through the gym, I've met some great guys that I'm really connected with, and we have hobbies and interests that are outside of the norms of what society and young men tend to do, which is go out on a Friday, Saturday night and get drunk and all that typical type of stuff. So for me, building community is hugely important, and building those connections and those friends. And what I love about Talk Club, and what you touched on before, you can have Talk Yoga. Yeah. You've got Talk Move.
Yeah, just like Talk and Skate.
Talk and Skate, I saw that in Bristol. Talk Lift. Yeah. And I love the way that you can attach Talk Club to every single community to elevate the positive response you get from talking and listening as men. So it's so interchangeable. And the work you're doing, like I said before, I was drinking that non-alcoholic beer. The non-alcoholic beer was Clearhead. That's how I found out about Talk Club. You sponsor, Bristol Beer Factory. Yeah. They sponsor Talk Club, and Clearhead is their first mental health movement IPA. And I thought that was outstanding. Nivea you're working with.
Yeah, Nivea for Men. We're doing some stuff with them now. They've got on board, and we're doing that. And lots of different exciting projects in the pipeline that we can't talk about yet, but they're still sort of going through.
Musicians?
There are. We can't talk about that yet. Yeah. I don't think we can officially announce it, but we've got some sort of exciting projects coming up. For us, it's all about awareness. That's what it's about. So that's why a important part for us as a charity is we need to get people aware that we're there and the services are there, and you can join our community.
Fantastic.
So talkclub.org is the website. If you want to come and check us out, and if you want to donate as well, as I said, 150 quid will put a man through 8 weeks of therapy. So that's a new thing we started. Support a man campaign, we call it.
Well, my mission here is to bring Talk Club to initially the financial planning profession. It's a predominantly male profession. That is changing, and we're trying to change that. Yeah. But it is a predominantly male profession. Throughout lockdown, I spoke to a lot of people that felt very isolated, spoke to a lot of men, and we talked about mental health, and it's quite an issue within the financial planning profession. So for me, it's about, how can I bring Talk Club to a profession or an industry that's not used to opening up and talking and being seen as this pillar of strength, and unable to really show some vulnerability. Yeah. So for me, Financial Planner Life Talk Club, that's my contribution. Amazing. Now, anybody listening to this that is part of the financial planning profession, perhaps you yourself work for a firm where you don't have any connection with any charity that deals with men's mental fitness. I'm now getting approached by so many firms that want to be part of Talk Club and would want Talk Club to be part of their business, even if it's setting up their own Talk Club community for their staff, for their clients, for their brothers. Yeah. Anybody, and that's the big thing for today. So anybody listening to this podcast, if you're an employee, reach out to your company and say, look, we need to partner with Talk Club and set up our own Talk Club. It's a social responsibility to reduce this problem that we have with male suicide.
And also, one thing I'd say about that is what I hear a lot of people say is, I don't need that at the moment. And I'm like, no, that's not what Talk Club's about. Talk Club is about, it's mental fitness. even if you're a 9 or a 10, you can still go to a talk club, because the whole point is that you're just maintaining that mental fitness. You're talking about it, hearing about it, being there, supporting fellow men. It's being part of a community. So I would say it's not about, this is the whole point, it's prevention. Rather than go, well, I'm going to go there when I'm struggling. No, actually, if you go now, you hopefully will get to the point where you won't struggle, because you'll be feeling mentally strong. Like we said, it's a gym for the brain. That's what Talk Club is. It's a gym for the brain.
Absolutely. And a massive positive effect of all of this is reducing the stigma attached to being a man and expressing how you feel.
Slowly but surely we're getting there.
We're getting there.
I think men are starting, from what I've seen from Talk Club, men are, it's amazing to see all these men coming along and talking and being open. And I think the generations coming through, I think they're starting to realise it is a bigger. I think with the help of social media, people are realising that it's a bigger problem than people realise. With suicide.
And so many females are getting behind it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brothers, husbands, fathers. I had a client on quite recently. She came on as 6. She left a 15 on the call that we had.
Right.
And she identified my journey with her father.
Right, okay.
So for her, it was like, wow, this is something that needs to be done. She was so passionate about it because she could see it in her own father. And I think women are very good at identifying and empathizing. And a lot of the time, they can sit in frustration. They don't want, men have this idea that they've got to be strong and, courageous and all of that typical type of thing. And, we're stereotyped to be that way. I think women also have a responsibility to help men identify that it's okay to be vulnerable and that we want you to be healthy and mentally fit to be a better father, brother, friend, and a all-round better human being who enjoys life and doesn't sit in depression, anxiety, worry, and horrible states that might lead to a tragic end.
Well, a simple sentence I always say is being healthy is expressing. Expressing yourself is being healthy. Being mentally healthy and mentally fit is expressing yourself. Containing your problems is not strength. That bullshit of man up is gone. We at Talk Club we say open up, not man up. You need to open up, because those man up stuff is not helping anybody. In fact, that's when at worst, the ill mental health. It's not just about suicide. That's obviously the severe end of ill mental health. It is about the middle as well, of men just struggling, drinking too much, taking drugs, whatever it is. It's because there's a pain. That's what it is. It's avoidance of pain. So there's a pain in there, and you can help that by talking. As I expressed to my friend, just by asking him, how are you out of 10, it might have saved his life. So it's I don't want to sort of simplify it, but it is that simple. There is a pain in all of us, I would say. We're always carrying some kind of pain or another. It's how we deal with that and how we cope with that. And we go to that extreme or that extreme. And at Talk Club, we're like, look, let's get talking now. Let's get talking now before, your numbers drop.
Gavin, absolutely love the work you're doing. I'm behind you, 100%. You know that. I can see Talk Club just going further and further and further, helping more and more people. I'm passionate about bringing this to the financial planning profession. Also, in respect, promoting it through the recruitment profession as well. And we're going to continue to work with you. As mentioned, Financial Planner Life Academies, 5% of our turnover is going to be going towards Talk Club and the fantastic work that you actually do. And I'm going to make it my mission to attract as many financial planning firms to Talk Club, to set up their own clubs, and to also get some of those valuable donations coming in that's going to save lives. So, Gavin, thank you so much for joining me today. Just to reiterate, anybody that wants to get involved with Talk Club can find out more by Googling Talk Club.
Talkclub.org. I mean, if you put Talk Club in, it's there, but talkclub.org is our website.
Fantastic. And if any financial planning firms want to reach out to me, Talk Club Financial Planner Life, get in contact with me. We've got a community set up, but also I'll talk to you about how you can implement this within your wellbeing program and as a charity of choice. So, Gavin, top man, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sam.